Hey there, guys. This is Alrighty with Good Guys Gear. And so I told you a while back that I was going to shoot these two side by side. My new KAHR K40 and my old SIG P230. And anyhow, so we're going to do that. But at the same time, since we've been going on about accuracy and stuff, we're going to talk about double action only versus single action only, or double single pistols like the CZ75 and the SIG 230. Because the trigger and the trigger squeeze is such an important part of achieving a high level of accuracy, felt like that would play in pretty well, especially with anticipation and so on, that seeming to be a big part of our accuracy issue. When you switch back and forth between styles of trigger, or if you carry a double action, single action gun like a CZ75 with the hammer half down, then your first shot has a long squeeze and your second one is short single action. So if you're dealing with a lot of anticipation, it'll be very difficult to go back and forth between those different trigger squeezes. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. And we've got 4 guns out here to shoot. Technically 5, but 2 of them are CZ75s in 40, so we'll just say 4. So we've got the KAHR and the SIG, and then we have, of course, my beloved CZ75 in 40, and my backpack gun, my rough old GLOCK 22. You guys have probably seen a review on this. That's fitting. There's glitter around the sight from something or other. I think that came from a wedding a long time ago. But anyhow, moving on. Now, as far as the trigger pulls on these guns, the GLOCK trigger is not really going to be very reminiscent of a Gen 3 GLOCK, because I did work on it. It would actually lean towards some of the newer double action only guns that have actual attention paid to their triggers. And the KAHR has what would generally be considered to be a horrible trigger, but it's on purpose, where an older GLOCK trigger sucked by accident because nobody thought that anybody would care, so they didn't bother to do anything about how bad it sucked. The KAHR trigger is intentionally a very long trigger squeeze, and I've honestly had some difficulty with it. Now, talking about getting accuracy out of the gun, one thing that I want to point out about that I've been having the biggest issue with is that the GLOCK has, with the trigger pulled all the way back against the stop, is about 2.6 inches from the back strap to the trigger face. The CZ75 is about 2.4 inches from the back strap to the trigger face, and the SIG is about 2.25, 2.25, 2.3. So they all fall within 1/4 of an inch as far as the length of pull. The KAHR doesn't reach the stop until 2 inches. So where that could be really good for somebody with smaller hands, if you have bigger hands, it can be really difficult to bring that trigger pull all the way back and crunch your finger way back up in there and stay on target and not anticipate and not flinch, especially if you're used to these longer trigger pulls or longer lengths of pull with a shorter trigger pull and a lighter trigger pull, if you can follow me through all of that. So anyhow, first off, we're just gonna, run each one of these guns a little bit, and we'll compare some groups. And Kickstand will talk about it as well, actually, because he hasn't run double action only guns very much at all. He shot my GLOCK. I bet he hasn't put 200 rounds through it, and I bet he's not put 25 through the KAHR. Outside of that, he shot my SIG, he shot his CZ, and he shot his Makarov, which are all double single guns. So it'll be relatively close to a new experience for him, and we'll get his take on it. But anyhow, we're going to load up some ammo and stuff and shoot some. And the other thing that we're going to do is we're specifically going to focus on recoil between the bigger and smaller guns, because as you know, we have our whole pack-a-big gun because recoil is lower and all of this. And so we're going to make sure to be up pretty close on the guns where you can really see that that difference. So anyhow, guys, we'll be back in just a moment. Alright guys, so first I'm just going to run the two big guns, my CZ75 and my Glock. We're just, I don't know, 10 yards-ish. It's not that formal. Two targets set up, just going to run a 5-round group, slow, controlled, try to be accurate, and then we'll look at the targets, and then we'll probably let Kickstand run the two big guns. So he's going to try to stay pretty up close on the guns. Again, polymer, steel. You're going to see a lot of differences between guns today, so should be good times. Alrighty guys, here's my Glock 22. I'm actually going to feel the trigger on this thing one time before I make a mess of myself. Okay, we're good to go. I haven't shot in a long time, guys, so. And it feels weird, guys. It feels really weird. Might have actually shot a better group than that than I did with my CZ. So, you know, anyhow, let's walk over here and see what we've got. Between the two guns, I'd definitely say the weight of the Glock does tend to make it, or the weight of the CZ tends to make it recoil a little bit less. But anyhow, here's my 5 with the Glock 22. And here's my 5 with the CZ. Honestly, I guess this flyer puts the CZ group a little bit wider. That was my first shot. So anyhow, we'll mark those out, reload, and let Kickstand run.
Howdy y'all, this is Kickstand. Just gonna shoot 5 through my CZ just like he did. And we'll see how I do.
Alrighty, and now for the Glock. Remember, you got a take up and a pretty crisp let off, actually, so
yeah,
don't let it sneak up on you.
Alrighty.
Feels weird, doesn't it? Alrighty, so what do you think of the two? I mean, you haven't shot the Glock very much at all, and we've been running the CZs a lot.
I don't know. I feel like with all the trigger work you did, I think that the 2-stage is more noticeable in a Glock.
It is.
Probably because it's also a lot heavier of a trigger.
It is, definitely. I think now it was heavier after I made it crisper.
Yeah.
I think I did the same thing to it that you did to your SKS, basically.
Probably did.
But anyhow, let's walk over and see how you did. And we're being cheap, guys, today, so my first group is marked out with X's. So then Kickstand would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the Glock. And then over here with the CZ. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So fairly similar, actually.
A little bit wider spread, I would say, but not phenomenal.
Yeah.
As far as the difference...
No, I'd say they're awfully similar, actually.
Yeah.
So pretty similar grouping with both guns, guys, with the two big guns. We're going to reset our targets and now shoot little guns. Okay, guys, so now I'm going to run the SIG. It's 380. I wish that all the guns we were shooting were the same caliber, but that's okay, especially coming to the smaller guns. It'll give you an idea of the difference between a light 380 and a heavy 40 in a little gun. Also, again, about the little guns with the shorter length of pull on the trigger. If you're going to carry a big gun and a little gun, you know, a big gun primarily and a little gun every now and again, I would honestly recommend looking around at the different little guns, and unless you can't find one that has a similar length of pull from backstrap to hammer to trigger stop, unless you just can't live with one of the ones that's similar, I would try to do that, because I can tell you it's really difficult to adjust to that much difference, especially with the KAHR. But anyhow, I'll see what I can do with the SIG. It's pretty similar to the CZ as far as the trigger. With a way shorter length of pull. Alright. Now I will switch one pocket gun for another. Now here's one, like I said, I've been having a kind of hard time getting much out of this. It's a great feeling gun.